How's it going, everyone? It's Riley's Redzone, and welcome to Week 8 NFL Picks, another edition of weekly selections for this NFL season. And we're already almost halfway, which is just ridiculous how fast time flies. So, quickly before diving into this week, last week, me and the guest picker, Zach, both went 11-4, which was a nice little pick-me-up for the standings, setting my record at 64-43 on the season. So, a nice little week to get back in the win column more often than not. And this week, to try to jump the guest pick standings, is Andrew, who has sent me all of his selections for the week as well. And I'm going to be hoping to do well also. If you are new here, we just pick who we think wins the game. I may bring up who's the favorite or spreads to get an idea of what direction people are thinking, but in the end, it's just pick them who's going to win the game. Lastly, before we dive in, this will likely be a shorter episode. It hasn't been the strongest week of health for myself, as you may hear a little bit, but we're still going to give you guys the content for this week. So let's just talk about this week's slate of games, starting with the Thursday night with the Vikings and the Rams. This should be, I think, a really fun one. The Vikings catch their first loss last week, which I did think was bound to happen. I believe the Lions are the best team in the NFC right now. The Rams, the question everyone's asking is actually whether some of their pieces are available in trade. Supposedly, even the Vikings are involved with a Matthew Stafford or a Cooper Kupp. I don't necessarily buy that, but if they were, this is the game tonight. I think some X factors is the health of some of these Rams, that maybe they get some of these receivers back. I believe this is the textbook definition of a trap game for the Vikings. I do believe the Vikings are actually legit this year, and despite being someone who's grown up with the Vikings and has seen the collapses throughout the seasons, I think this team is legit. This is a Super Bowl contending Vikings team, but this is a tough one on a short week coming off a loss against the Lions. I like the Rams to pull off an upset. Andrew is going to go with the Vikings, but I like Los Angeles at home here to pull a little bit of a stunner, even if they are without some of these receivers. Packers, Jaguars. The Packers are legit, in my opinion. They're a top 10 team. They're easily contenders in this league, and the Jaguars get back in the win column over the Patriots, albeit, but so they have a little bit of confidence. I think this is another one where we could see a little bit of a trap, but either way, I think the Packers are for real. I'll take Green Bay. So does Andrew in that matchup to start things off there. Cardinals, Dolphins, we get the Tua Tagovailoa returns, supposedly, and I think that actually plays a huge piece into it. I like the Cardinals, and they've had some nice wins this season. I have been a little bit hesitant of their defense, and that's where I think that if you put Tua back in this offense, and whether he should be playing or not is a whole nother discussion, but if he is, and he's at where we've seen before, I like Miami in this game to get a win at home and defeat the Cardinals. Andrew's going to go with that pick as well. Jets, Patriots. The Jets bring in Devontae Adams, and it hasn't been enough. They lose to the Steelers last week, so who knows where they're at. I think the Patriots are definitely, there's been rumors that Mayo's on the hot seat. It may be true because they've been struggling. I think Drake May is your guy. You want to develop him for this season. If there's a team the Jets can finally get a win against, it has to be New England. I don't know another opportunity that's going to be as good as this one to get back in the win column. So I've got faith. If the Jets lose this one, holy cow, we're talking about a dumpster fire over there in New York. But give me the Jets. Andrew's going to go that direction as well. Ravens, Browns. The Ravens are a wagon. The Browns lose to Deshaun Watson, and we've had to talk about him every single week, but I believe that as a pure football team, I think the Browns are going to be better with Jameis Winston at quarterback. I don't think this week against a really tough Baltimore team it's going to be enough, but I think that they're actually going to see a higher trajectory throughout the rest of the season. Who knows? They could pull off the upset this week, but I'll take Baltimore as the favorite here. So does Andrew in that one as well. Eagles, Bengals, these are tricky because I think they're both teams that have been a little bit lackluster compared to their preseason expectations, but at the same time, they're both catching a little bit of fire. The Eagles beating the Giants last week, who are not a great football team, and the Bengals able to squeak out the win over Cleveland. I think that being at home is the difference maker here, so I'm going to take Cincinnati. Their offense gets in the right track. Andrew's going to go that direction as well. I think the Bengals are on their comeback season a little bit right here. Colts, Texans, division game, always interesting. I like Houston in this one, even despite the loss to the Packers. They're a top 10 team. They're a real contender. The Colts are up and down with Anthony Richardson. Long term, he's their guy. But for this season, I think they've played it better with Joe Flacco. But despite that, they get a win last week. I like Indianapolis here to probably not have enough. And so the Texans will likely get the victory in this one. Andrews going that direction also. Titans, Lions. I think the Titans have been one of the worst teams this season. I dropped them even further because Tua is back on the Dolphins. Otherwise, they're pretty much right in that bottom three for me. They also, in addition, have traded away DeAndre Hopkins. They've traded away Ernest Jones. We'll see what else they do. It's clear they're not contending this year. The answer you just need to solve, the question you need to solve is Will Levis the answer? I don't know if they've done that. The Lions are just a absolute juggernaut right now. I like Detroit in this one. They're a top 3 team in my opinion. So both Andrew and I are going with the Lions in this game. Falcons, Bucks. This one is interesting to me because last time the Falcons able to pull off in a nail biter, that was a great game to watch. And I would easily just flip the switch here and pick the Bucks for this time and split the series. But the health of the receivers for Tampa Bay is a game changer. Baker Mayfield's going to be without his top few targets, but despite that, I like Baker and the underdog Bucks here to get a win at home. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Andrew's going with Atlanta in this matchup, which is certainly understandable, but I like a little bit of upset revenge here, even despite the lack of receiving that the Bucks may have in this matchup. So give me Tampa Bay. Saints, Chargers, these are two teams I think are on a little bit more of the struggle bus than we thought. The Chargers aren't able to pull it off last week. They just need to let Justin Herbert loose, in my opinion. He's, doesn't have a lot of options. To me, it's a no-brainer that they should go get like a Mike Williams back to this team. And the Saints are just not great without the health of a lot of their players. I think they're smart to give Rattler a go over these last few weeks, but it's tough out there, especially when he doesn't have a ton to work with. So I like the Chargers here with Jim Harbaugh. I trust their coaching more than Dennis Allen. I'll take Los Angeles. Andrew will as well in this game to get a victory over the Saints at home there. Bills, Seahawks. This is a fun one to me because these are two good teams. I think both will be in the playoffs. The Bills are trying to be Super Bowl contenders with the Amari Cooper trade. The Seahawks are saying we're legit. Where we want to go get Ernest Jones. We want to have a good squad. Geno Smith has actually been playing pretty well this season. But in this one, I think the upside of the Bills' offense is a little bit more than the consistency that the Seahawks provide. For that reason, I think the Seahawks are a really good team. I just don't think they have a game where they can put up 40 points. I like the Bills here. So does Andrew on the road. But the Seahawks are a great team this season, no doubt. Bears, Commanders, the health of Jaden Daniels, the big question here. I think he's going to be out. We all kind of assume that way. Either way, this is exactly the type of game that the Commanders are a better team, but the Bears would win. It reminds me of last year where of all the teams that got a win, it was Bryce Young and the Panthers took down C.J. Stroud and the Texans in that 1-2 pick battle, and it was like the Texans are a better team, but number 1 pick got the advantage. I don't think we're going to see Jaden Daniels, unfortunately. It would have been great to see that showdown. But I like Chicago on the road over Washington. Now, Washington still showed they could put up some points, but that was against the Panthers without Jaden Daniels. So I like Chicago in that one. Andrew does as well. Now, I know I said I'd be done doing this, but the thing is, I've only up to this point taken 2 upset picks, and at least a few are going to happen this week, and I'm going to roll the dice here. We got Chiefs and Raiders. The Chiefs are the best team in football. They just added DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, they are looking for the three-peat. They are going to be Super Bowl contenders, probably favorites, and as I've said, probably at least 5 or 6 times at this point throughout the season. I don't really care what they do in the regular season because they're going to be in the playoffs anyways. If they drop a game, who cares? With that being said, I like the Raiders as a divisional underdog. Who knows what they're doing at quarterback, but I like Las Vegas over the Chiefs here. And as stated, this is a bold strategy. I said I'd be done doing this, but I think this is the week that a team takes him down. With that, Andrew's going to go with the Chiefs, so that may hand him the victory in the picks if this upset doesn't actually turn out. Then we got Cowboys and Niners. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. These are two historic franchises that are not necessarily disappointing a little bit, but they're just not in the top line as we maybe thought they would be for this season. The Niners can't pull off the victory. Now they're losing players left and right. Brandon Ayuk is hurt. Deebo Samuel's been ill. But Christian McCaffrey, are they going to get him back? Maybe eventually. This is a tough season for the Niners so far, and the Cowboys have just kind of been there. I think the Cowboys are going to be a wild card team. They're decent. I don't think they're top tier again this year. So I like San Francisco at home here, and probably a close matchup. Both of these teams to me need a win desperately, but of the two, I'm going to take the Niners at home. That's where Andrew goes as well. A little bounce back, despite maybe lacking some health on offense there. And lastly, Giants, Steelers. Steelers turned to Russell Wilson last week, and it pays off for them. They take the gamble. And so they looked really good in that second half. The Giants have not looked good. At least they're getting Malik Neighbors back, but some of the stats are crazy. As I've seen, Daniel Jones has thrown a touchdown pass at home, and it's been longer since that happened, since a team scored a hockey goal in MetLife, which is ridiculous. But Steelers are at home. Terrible towel. I like the Steelers defense. The Giants are almost so bad that they're going to pull off these random wins, but I got to go Pittsburgh in this matchup at home and as the favorite. So that's going to conclude for the picks. We're going to do a quick recap of the Fantasy League. Best manager last week was Charlie, who put up 145 points out of a possible 150. He was also the highest scorer. He's been this for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. He's on fire right now. Alex was the worst manager, scoring 85 of a possible 120 points. The narrow victory went to Cody, won 126 to 123 over Andrew, our guest picker this week. I was the subject of the biggest blowout that Charlie was against me with the highest score, and I only scored 87. My team has been rough as of late, guys. Get some guys off a bye, but without Nico Collins and Rashid Rice, the lineup's been a little bit of a struggle. So, quickly for the matchups this week, it's me versus Alex, and the odds are currently matched right at 50% each. We got Max versus Cody. We have Nick versus Carson, Matthew versus Danny, Charlie versus Braden, and Andrew versus Zach. And so when we take a look at those standings, we've got a lot of good teams in this league. We also have a couple of that are behind the 8 ball. That, remember, there are punishments and rewards for our top placers and our toilet bowl finishers. So as you can see the standings, there's a lot still to play for. So that should be interesting to see. But for now, I'm signing off. We'll see you next week with another edition of Weekly NFL Picks. Enjoy your weekend and watching football.